Get full episodes of The Damage Report as a podcast on iTunes and Android, and you can watch the live show every weekday on YouTube TV. It sometimes seems like there's no one in the White House who is not functioning as a foreign agent for at least some government, but as of today, there's actually one less. This is Richard Holt, who had served as a lobbyist for the Saudi government, cutting ties with them. But why exactly? And what influence did he have up until yesterday? We're gonna be joined now by an expert to talk about that, Sarah Kleiner for the Center for Public Integrity. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks, John.
Very glad to have you here. So this is not someone that I had actually been familiar with. So if you could give us just a brief rundown, what function did he serve for Donald Trump, and what is his relationship with the Saudi government?
Sure, Richard Holt, I'll give you some context going back a number of years, but most recently he has been on a commission that advises the White House on fellowship appointees. And we're talking about high-profile people. Colin Powell is one, who have these fellowships in the White House and in governmental agencies. So he's on a commission that advises the White House. While filling that role, he also was hired by the Saudi Arabian government to represent them in the United States as a foreign lobbyist.
So, of course, he did have to register for that. So this is not one of the cases where he was an unregistered lobbyist and theoretically could face any sort of legal things. He was actually registered, and now he's apparently stepped down. Do we have any idea why that might be?
So I attempted multiple times to reach out to Richard Holt and did not hear back most recently. In late October, I reached out to him, and he wrote back and said he was reassessing his roles and didn't specify why. And I asked him if, and as we can talk about the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, Washington Post columnist and critic of the Saudi Arabian government, I asked if that had anything to do with his decision, and he didn't answer that question. And then now he's not responding to requests for comment.
Well, that is certainly interesting. I mean, the past couple of months, there's been a lot of news where Saudi Arabia has been front and center, both the murder of Khashoggi, but also this new debate about whether the US should continue to support the Saudi Arabian war effort in Yemen. I suppose it's possible that either of those could be the explanation, although I guess defending the Saudi interest in both of those cases is literally what he was being paid to do. So do you have any belief that we'll eventually figure it out, or does he seem like he's just going to go to his grave without revealing it?
Well, I think that I can tell you that we're going to keep on the story, and we're going to keep an eye on the FARA filings to see if he reinitiates any sort of relationship with the Saudi Arabian government. Because the wording in his most recent filing, which the Center for Public Integrity got a copy of, said that he was suspending his representation. So, we're going to keep an eye on filings and see if that relationship reignites at some point in the future. And, we'll keep trying to find out exactly why he severed his ties. He is not alone. Other big name lobbying and public relations firms around Washington have also severed ties with the Saudi Arabian government. Mm-hmm. So he's not alone in that. And I did want to point out that Richard Holt is someone who has very, very deep ties here in DC for over 3 decades. He actually was instrumental in protecting savings and loans from regulators back in the 1980s when they were going through a financial crisis. And then fast forward to the Great Recession, Richard Holt was hired by Citigroup to provide, not as a lobbyist, but to provide sort of insight and feedback. And that was when financial institutions across the country were going under. Citigroup itself received $45 billion in government relief in TARP funding back then. So this is someone who has been around for a long time and has had some controversial connections in the past.
Well, that's interesting. I'm glad that you brought up how well connected he is, because I want to get to before yesterday. So the time that he was serving both as one of these fellows, but also as a paid lobbyist. And let me just, this is a number that I believe is cited in your article and some of the others, but apparently last year, the group that he represents received close to $1 million from the Saudi government. So this is not some small thing. He's very well paid, but at the same time, he says that he never actually directly lobbied to Donald Trump for the Saudi government, which implies that one of two things is true. Either he's lying, or the Saudi government was really ripped off in their dealings with him. If they're paying that huge amount of money and maybe getting nothing out of it, which do you think is the case?
I'm not sure. I can't really answer that. I do know that he had declared on his forms that he attended meetings that may have benefited Saudi Arabia, but we have his his comments are that he never actually lobbied directly to Donald Trump. So we can't be certain, but we do know that he is part of like a major lobbying effort by Saudi Arabia. The government, the kingdom paid, it was $27 million in 2017 alone for firms around DC for representation, public relations, lobbying, and that sort of thing.
That is amazing, and I'm glad that there's been a lot of great reporting about this lobbying efforts, both by Saudi Arabia and other countries as well. So I'm curious, compared to other countries, how significant is the Saudi effort? I mean, if we were to look at Ecuador, is Ecuador spending millions of dollars in lobbying in DC? Is Madagascar spending millions of dollars? Like, does Saudi Arabia really stand out?
It stands out, and I can't speak to the specific countries, but it's definitely a massive effort, and it is growing each year. And Saudi Arabia has an interest in oil, policy related to oil and energy, and policy related to arms sales. They are one of the biggest purchasers of U.S. arms, weapons.
And so certainly economically, that they might be spending millions of dollars, but if theoretically it gives them access to billions of dollars of US arms, as well as the intelligence and maintenance and logistics and all of that, it seems like from their point of view, it would probably be quite a deal that they're getting.
Right, they have financial interest, and the United States has a financial interest in remaining allies with Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. Well, Sarah Kleiner, thank you so much for joining us and for your reporting for the Center for Public Integrity. We really appreciate you focusing on this important issue.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for watching this clip from the Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.